Hey everyone, this is Matt. I wanted to make another video about Heroclix today, and my last video was about the upcoming War of Light event that's coming out in June of next year of 2014. But I wanted to talk about the event that's coming up this year, the event that's coming up after Fear itself ends, but before War of Light begins. And that event is Avengers vs. X-Men, and I could talk about multiple things that have to do with it, but today I'm just going to talk about the resource because over the weekend Alliance had a house show, and multiple store owners could come in and distributors could come in, and the Alliance people, and then the different companies could like talk to the customers and tell them about the upcoming products. And one of the things they really showed off was the Avengers vs. X-Men items, and people got their first pictures of the resource. So I wanted to, before I start on it, I wanted to give some rep to Keith0323 on HT Realms forum. He was the one who took some photos of these things and put them online so somebody could post them. But if you don't know anything about Avengers vs. X-Men for the Heroclix event, it's an upcoming event this December, and it's gonna tell the story of Avengers vs. X-Men that happened recently, about a year ago. And it starts out, it's a 4-month event, and at the beginning of the month 1 they're gonna release some starter sets, and you're supposed to buy them. The rules have kind of changed on it. They're not required to buy them to participate in the event, but you are recommended to require them to use one piece from whichever side you choose. Pretty much you choose a side, either Avengers or X-Men, and then you kind of play on that side for the 4 months. And then as you're playing, you have a resource, which is the Phoenix Force. Isn't it any better in the photo? But okay, the Phoenix Force resource. That's the resource for this event, the Phoenix Force resource. And as you play, you can earn figures and stuff. Well, again, props and rep to Keith0323. He took some amazing photos of the resource. These are the first photos we've seen of it, minus the ones on the WizKids website. And I wanted to go over and discuss it because I think it's really, really cool, and hopefully through discussing it, it will help people better understand it and be able to prepare for it when it comes out in December. So here's what it looks like. You got the Phoenix in the middle, and you have 5 little pegs down here, and that's where the fragments go on to. When I say fragments, I mean these little pieces of fiery bird, and they're built like the Fear itself objects, that you can play them as a relic on the little waffle disc thing they come in, or you can pop them off that and you can attach them straight to the resource, and then they have their own little abilities and stuff. If you play them as a relic, you get a certain ability. You gotta pick them up, you gotta play points for them, all that stuff. If you play them as a resource, you flip the card over and it has different abilities to it. Anyways, we finally got our first look at the cards, and I just wanted to go over it. Okay, so the Phoenix Force, this thing itself, by itself, it costs 12 points. Okay, 12 points. Now, at least 1, but no more than 5 distinct Phoenix Force fragments, which are these guys, can be attached to it. So you have to have 1, and each costs 3 points. So the minimum is 12 points for the Phoenix Force, 3 points for a fragment. Now, you have to assign the resource to some people, so up to 5 distinct characters, each with a point value of at least 40 points, are assigned to the Phoenix Force resource and cost 3 points per character, but there must be at least 1 fragment for each character. Okay, so the minimum you could pay for it would be 12 points for the resource, 3 points for 1 fragment, and 3 points for 1 character. That equals 18 points. That's the cheapest you're going to get it. The most expensive thing is if you have 5 different characters and 5 different Phoenix Force fragments, and then that equals up to be 42 points. Okay, so that's how much it costs. And just go over it again. You have to have at least one fragment. It has to be assigned to at least one person. The resource does, and then all the people, it can be assigned to at most 5 different people. So no team base or no duo figures. It has to be 5 different not different, but it has to be 5 separate characters. And then the whole word distinct is still up the rule. Some people think it has to be different characters. Some people think it just has to be separate characters. And when I say difference between different and separate is, I could have 5 Scarlet Witches with the Phoenix Force if it's just different. I mean, if it's just separate characters. But if it's different characters, then I'd have to choose like Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, etc. So each character has to be at least 40 points. That means no bystander. You can't put it on a bystander that's like 3 points or something, and you couldn't put it on like a 33 point Bruce Banner or something, But there is no maximum. So if you wanted to put it on one character and just have one fragment, that'd be 18 points. And I mean, if you wanted, it says up to 5 different. You can keep it to one character, but have 5 distinct Phoenix Force fragments that have different options, and then that would cost you 30 points. 12 plus 15 plus 3 points for one character. So you can do 30 for just one character and have all these options. Anyways, what the fragments do is, I'll just read through this setup. Okay, so for each character assigned to the resource, what you're going to do is at the beginning of your turn, as you're placing your characters in the starting area, so it's not even at the beginning of your turn, before the game even starts, you're going to remove a fragment from the resource and assign it to each character that owns the resource, pretty much. So if you have 3 characters and 5 resources, if you have 3 characters and 5 of the fragments, then you can choose from the 5 fragments 1 of each to go to, the 3 characters, and then you'd have 2 left over still on the base. Now, how many you have still left on the resource after you've divvied them up at the beginning is really important, because that determines where you start out on the dial for the resource. And what it's telling you in the instructions is, here's a picture of the resource. As you can see, there's blue numbers and there's red numbers. And these are zeros. The reds go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the zeros go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So like each piece of the pie is cut up in a blue number, but then each piece, quarter or whatever it is of the pie is cut up into smaller red pieces, pretty much. And depending on how many fragments you still have left on the resource, it will tell you where to start. The less fragments you have on the resource, the weaker your characters are. Pretty much, that's kind of the idea. The more fragments you have left on the resource, the further ahead you start on the style, and the stronger your characters ultimately are, because effects of the Phoenix Force, when a standard power is revealed on the dial, that's any of these colors, pretty much, pink, red, green, all characters assigned to the Phoenix Force resource can use the indicated power. That means if you're sitting right here, okay, now this is 0. That means that you have zero fragments still on the resource. That means you had 5 characters assigned to the resource and 5 relics, 1 each assigned to each character. That means you had 0 of the fragments left on the resource. You start right here at the beginning of the game. That would mean each of your characters, each of the 5 characters that are assigned to the resource, have, now this is in the this will be Quake because it's in the fist area, attack area. This will be toughness because it's in the defense area, and then it's a +1, and that means they have +1 speed. So all 5 characters would have +1 speed, quake, and toughness. Now, if they somehow got over here or something, let's say they got over here somehow, then all 5 characters would have hypersonic speed, steel energy, +2 to all stats. That's what the boxed in number means. It means if it's not boxed in, it just means it's +1 to that stat, or plus whatever to that stat. If it's boxed in, then it's +1 or plus whatever modifier to all stats. So right here it would be hypersonic speed, steel energy, +2 to all stats, and perplex. So all characters still alive with that resource. Now that's pretty dang powerful. Okay, I know that was a whole lot of information. We still got a little bit more though. Okay, at the beginning of the game, when you assign a fragment to a character, that fragment gives that character a certain power. You may not be able to see this, but I'll explain it to you. Cyclops' fragment gives that character Ranged Combat Expert. Namor's fragment gives that character Avengers, Defenders, and X-Men team abilities. Colossus' fragment gives that character Invulnerability. Emma Frost's fragment gives that character Telekinesis. And Magic's fragment gives that character a Mystics, but only when they're hit by ranged attacks. Okay? So you would have 5 characters. If you have 5 characters and assign 1 fragment to each of them would have one of these abilities. You're probably asking, what if you have less than 5 characters? And what if you have fragments not assigned? Well, at the beginning of each of your turns, you may choose a Phoenix Force fragment attached to the resource. Characters assigned to the Phoenix Force can use that fragment's Phoenix power until your next turn. That's pretty simple, you know. So yeah, they're gonna have a lot of abilities. They're gonna have a whole lot of abilities. So let's say you have 3 characters, okay? You have 5 fragments. So you're paying for 3 characters with 5 fragments. So the most you could have left on the resource after you give 1 fragment to each, there would be 2 left. So you'd be right here under 2. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Because the most you could have left over would be 4 if you had 1 character. So yeah. So this would be if you have 0 left over, if you have 1 left over, if you have 2 left over. So if you start right here, if you have 3 characters assigned to the resource, and so you have 2 fragments left on there. Each of your characters will start out with Charge, Blades, Claws, Fangs, and Empowered, which is interesting, and +1 defense. Now on top of that, depending on which fragment you gave to them, they would have a certain ability. So if you gave one of the 3 Cyclopses, they would also have Ranged Combat Expert. If you gave another character Magics, then they would have Mystics from range. Then if you gave if you gave somebody else Emma Frost's, they would all have Telekinesis. I mean, that character would have Telekinesis. Now you would still have Namor and Colossus's fragment still on the resource. So at the beginning of your turn, you could choose Colossus's fragment that's still on the resource, and say, all my characters also have Invulnerability. So they would have Charge, Blades, Claws, Fang, 1 defense, Invulnerability, and Power, and then whatever power was granted to them through the fragment you actually attached to them as a relic. That's a whole lot of information. It really is. But we got a little bit more to discuss. As you can see, there's a whole big dial, and we've kind of discussed a little while how you start at certain areas. It depends on how many fragments are left on the resource, but we haven't discussed how you get further into the resource after you've started at a certain point, and that's interesting. Okay, so what the rule is, turning the dial. You can only turn a dial under 3 certain circumstances. If a character that has the Phoenix Force assigned to it is KO'd, you attach the fragment to the resource and immediately click the dial 5 times to the left. And don't get confused. That's how you normally turn things. So if you had 5 characters and you're right here on the dial, right here, and one died or got KO'd, you would turn it to right here. Ends up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty much it's you keep the red number, but you increment the blue number. So you would go from 0, 1 to 1, 1. If you were at 0, 3, you would go 1, 3. If you're at 1, 4, you would go 2, 4. Now that's if that's one of your characters dies that has the Phoenix Force applied to it. That's one circumstance where it turns. Now, if one of your characters that has the Phoenix Force fragments KOs an opposing character, then you get to move it up 1. That's changing the red number plus 1, incremented by 1. So if you're at 0, 1, and one of your characters KOs an opposing character, and you're at 0, 1 before, you would now be at 0, 2. Now, the only other way it changes is if one of your characters with the Phoenix Force applied rolls doubles on an attack and hits. Then you get to increment as well, plus 1, or increment by 1. So, and then there's one last rule. You can never go past the red number 5. So you can never like roll a double, KO a figure, roll a double. You can never go past this green line. Unless there's only one time where you can go past that green line, or that starting line, is if one of your characters gets KO'd. That's the only time. That's the only time. And what this symbolizes, if you read the comic about Avengers vs. X-Men, the Phoenix Force power was split among 5 people. The X-Men people. And it was weaker because the power was split across 5 people. But as each character got beat in battle, and the Phoenix Force left that character, there was more power left over for the remaining people. So it makes sense that when one of your characters dies that has the Phoenix Force resource attached to it, you can click it and all your guys now will get more powerful. And that's how it goes on the resource. I mean, as you notice, you know, it goes from kind of weaker to begin with to stronger, to stronger, to stronger, to even stronger, to oh my lord, to woo, +3 to all stats, pulse wave, impervious, probability control. Whew. It's a lot of power right there. That if you could get to this spot right here, whoever has the resource that's still attached to them, equipped to them, assigned to them, would be super powerful, pretty much. So let's just go through a standard scenario, okay? We'll go through 2 different scenarios and then we'll end it. Because I know I've been talking a whole lot of time. Okay, we'll talk about playing it with 5 different people, okay? So if you're playing it with 5 different people, you would start out at 0, 1. That means all your characters, all 5 characters would have +1 to speed, quake, and toughness. That's it. Well, and the other, let's not talk about the other abilities, but you know. Okay, let's say one of your characters rolls a double and hits opponent. You would now go to 0, 2, and then they would have Force Blast, +1 attack, Energy Shield Deflection, and Perplex. Now let's say one of your characters dies. You now go from 0, 2 to 1, 2. You have 4 characters left, and all 4 characters will now have Sidestep, Energy Explosion, +1 defense, and Enhancement. Let's say one of your characters KOs one of their characters. You would now go to 1, 3, where they keep Sidestep, but now they have Incapacitate and +1 damage. But let's say one of your characters, one of the 4 remaining characters dies. You only have 3 left, but now it would go to 2, 3. So now they would have, the 3 characters left would have +2 speed, Steel Energy, and combat reflexes, which is pretty decent. Still energy and combat reflexes. Let's say one of your characters rolls a doubles and hits. You now go to 2-4. Now all three characters would have hypersonic speed, +2 attack, willpower, and close combat expert. That's pretty killer. That works really, really well together. But let's say now one of your characters dies. So you go from 3 characters to 2 characters, and you go from 2-4 to 3-4. 3-4 gives you the 2 characters left would have hypersonic speed, steal energy, +2 to all stats, because it's a box now, and perplex. Those 2 characters are pretty powerful now. I mean, they're probably doing upwards of 3-4 damage, and they're healing up every time they hit you, and they can run away pretty easily. Let's say you kill one of their characters. Now you go up to 3-5. Those 2 characters left on your that have the resource will now have hypersonic, pulse wave, invincible, and continue to have +2 to all stats. That's pretty silly powerful right there. And then let's say they KO one of your remaining 2 characters. You would go from 3-5 to 4-5. And that one remaining character would have +3 to all stats, pulse wave, impervious, probability control. On top of that, they would have the fragment power that you assign to them, which I don't know. Let's see, what would we go with that? You have pulse wave +3. Maybe range combat expert. That would be pretty interesting, because that actually range combat expert would be silly with +3. That's true. It wouldn't make any sense. Mystics with range. How about that? That's fine. That's perfect. I don't know. So you would have that one character would have all these abilities, +3 to all stats, have the fragment ability, and then once per turn you could choose another fragment on there and get that other ability. Oh man, I need some water. My throat is getting so dry from mentioning all this stuff. That's a whole lot of stuff. But as you can see, the characters started out weaker, and then as they battled, as they rolled doubles, as they got KO'd, as they KO'd other characters, they got stronger and stronger and stronger, and so you had one character that was so freaking strong it's not even funny. So in a strategy, you would almost think you may not want to KO a team that has Phoenix resource attached one at a time, because you would just be making them so much stronger. I mean, the most they could do if they KO'd your characters and rolled doubles would be to have +1 to all stats, pulse wave, invincible, and probability control. That's still really nice, but if you start KOing their people, they're just gonna start like jumping at you, just getting so friggin' strong, pretty much. Now let's see it on just one character. Let's say I just wanted to run the most minimum thing ever. One character, one fragment, and the resource. Well, no. If you wanted to be the strongest for one character, you would have to run all 5 fragments, because that would allow you to start out on this side. Because if you had one character, 5 fragments, you would have 4 fragments left over on the dial. So you would start right here, and your one character, how many points would that be? 12 points for the resource, 15 points for the 5 fragments, so that's 27, and 3 points for the one character. So that's 30 points. For 30 points, your character would start out with +2 speed, telekinesis, and invulnerability, plus whatever power you chose from the fragment you chose to assign to it, and whichever fragment you chose to copy the power of. So I probably wouldn't copy invulnerability, maybe give them range combat expert and then mystics from range or something. So you start with one character, and then as you KO other characters or roll doubles, you could possibly land on here, or this would be a great one right here, because you get +2 to all stats, quake, plasticity, and looks like, what is that? It's not enhancement. It is close. No, it ain't close combat. No, it's not range combat. My mind escapes me. I don't know. I must not use the color enough. But I don't really know actually. I don't know what light green is on damage. Can't remember. But anyways, so I mean, it's possible to have one character that's just so powerful, and you're KOing and you're KOing and you're KOing. You only have to KO 1, 2, 3, 4 characters, or roll doubles, a total of 4 times, to get onto the super awesome click plus $3 stats. So that's how it kind of works. It's a whole lot of powers, a whole lot of information. Over the 4 months, you'll get the 5 fragments, and I think the resource is definitely one of the prettiest resources we've ever gotten. I mean, with all the fragments on it, it's just going to be gorgeous. I really like how the fragment is good for teams. It seems, I mean, like the hammers, Book of Skull was good for teams too, but it required more setup, and sometimes you didn't get that time to set up because you had to bring your characters out within 5 squares, drop the hammers, pick up the hammers, and then clear and wait a few turns. But with the Phoenix resource, you assign it at the very beginning of the game before your turn even starts. So on your first turn, they would all have these powers. You wouldn't have to do any work for it. And I like how there's not really I mean, there is a little mini game in knowing when to KO a character and when not to KO a character, so to stay on certain powers. But it's not like the Infinity Gauntlet where you're you're putting up barriers around you and trying to get to that God mode, in like 5 turns or something. I mean, this is a resource that you're meant to go out and fight. You're not meant to sit in your starting zone and turn the dial. You're not meant to go 5 squares out and drop and set up and everything. You're meant to, from the very first turn, go out into the battlefield and start KOing opponent's characters and start losing your own characters. And I really think it'd be fun to play. I think it'll be beautiful to look at and everything. Does that Phoenix resource? It looks like it has. It looks like it actually has Cyclops' face in it. Holy cow! I did not notice that. It's on there. Huh. Anyways, affordability wise, it is definitely more expensive than most of the other resources. I mean, the minimum you can play it at is 18 points. For 18 points, you can get the Book of Skull with like 4 hammers attached. Yeah, 4 hammers. For 18 points, you can get the utility belt with like 2 objects. I don't know. I mean, there is some downsides to the resource. Nowhere on it will allow you to get Power Cosmic, so you won't be able to become indomitable or have built-in willpower at any point. I mean, unless the dial just lands on it, there may be a place where it lands on willpower, like right here. It lands on willpower, so yeah, all your characters would have it. So maybe it would work better on a group of characters that already have willpower, that already have indomitable, that already have Power Cosmic. But it's really cool. I look forward to playing it. I do think I love how it's more team based. I think it's easier to build it with a team and get to that sweet click than to build it with one character and try to roll enough doubles and KO enough characters to get to the sweet click. But I guess it depends on the character too. And the +3 to all stats, plus prob, plus pulse wave, plus impervious, is just such awesomeness. And once you get to that point, you can never lose it. You never lose it because you can never turn. The dial past click number 5 of a group. So. Oh wait. Hold up. No, I'm right. Okay, I'm right. I was like, okay, for a second I thought I'd misunderstood something, but I was right. I was right. Yeah, you can never click it past number 5 unless one of your characters dies with it and you have another character left over. Then you can click it because there'd be no way to click 5 times to the left and stay on the same dial. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you'd have to go on to the next one. So I think it's a fun resource. I think it'd be fun to collect. I think it'll be beautiful. I personally look forward to other things because there's been so many other Phoenix Force users. Just recently we got Hope Summers. Um, Somebody mentioned Kid Nemesis. I think it's his name. Who? No, that's not his name. It's Kid something. What's his name? They just made a figure of him. I'll look it up. Let's see. He's from Wolverine and the X-Men. His name may be Kid Nemesis, and I'm just like, where is it? Where is it? Kid Omega. Yeah, that's his name. Supposedly he has something to do with Phoenix. I mean, he's a Phoenix host. So maybe he would get a fragment at some point. Hope Summers maybe we get a fragment. So like how they did with the utility belt and they had extra con exclusive equipment you could get. Maybe we get more fragments, and maybe they would give us different abilities you could do with stuff. Anyways, I've talked too long on this, but hopefully this explains kind of what the Phoenix Force resource is all about. And this is becoming in December, so look forward to it, and I'll see you later. Bye.